Previously on The Devil on G-String. What shall I do with Shiratori? Apparently she likes sweets, but I can't say I ever remember seeing her eat them at school. I habitually turn on the TV. The news channel is reporting on our school. What? The police really did arrest the vice principal. Apparently he was the middleman between the contractors and the school. The incredible thing is that despite the vice principal's open confession, the director continues to deny all allegations. Then again, despite media hype, there's still no strong evidence linking the director to City Hall. But he did take money, no doubt about it. So I guess it's natural for him to be treated with suspicion. I wonder if Shiratori's always dodging paparazzi too.
あなたも家族が恋しくなったりしないの?
Every day of my life. Tokita refuses to allow her doubt to taint her firm stare.
何か違わない?
Something different.
あなたよ。目つきにしろ、仕草にしろ。気のせいかしら。
Trying to get some information out of me, are you?
別に詮索するつもりはないけれどね。
I'm glad you know your bounds then.
知らなければ幸せということもあるから。
She laughed weakly. I smiled back and bid her adieu. Well then, take care.
ええ。お互いにね。
I passed by her. I felt a glance bore through my back. It's natural for her to look at me suspiciously. But she doesn't know anything. Nonetheless, she's a sharp woman. I'll have to dispose of her too, when I take care of Usami.
爆破事件は表向きはヤクザ者の縄張り争いの一環と発表されているが、実際には魔王という存在を追って公安も動き出している。しかし魔王という犯罪者は国内国外ともにリストに該当なしだ。
I see.
車を爆破した時に用いられたのはプラスチック爆薬だ。出どころは北アイルランドの武器商人。物はロシア経由で日本に渡ってきたらしい。
Apparently Irish explosives pack a punch. Looks like our Maou was a full-fledged terrorist.
事実、不穏な動きはある。
What in God's name can be so horrific as to incite Gonzo to call it disturbing?
ここのところガキどもの誘拐失踪事件が続いているのは知っているか?
No, I didn't. My apologies.
分かっているだけでも10人。ただのガキではない。銀行屋の跡取り、代議士の息子、自衛官の卵。共通しているのは親に何らかの社会的権力があり、かつ未成年であるということだ。
Those are some high-value targets.
なんかいい感じね、あの二人。
そうかな。確かに京介のトークについていけるのはすごいけど。
水葉ね、クラシックに詳しいのよ。
Well, isn't that just a funky coincidence?
意外。
京介くんみたいに好きで詳しいわけじゃないわ。
どういうこと？
部屋に漫画でわかるクラシックっていう本があってかわいいじゃない？
I turn to walk away as Shiratori mutters perplexedly behind me.
今日はありがとう。
Oh no. It's a splendid plan if you ask me. Your father would be proud. My first comment would be that your aversion to police intervention is very wise indeed. If dealing with a negotiator can be avoided, it should be. This isn't a film or a novel. However, what contingencies do you have in place for the case in which Director Shiratori does not accept your conditions? The receiver brought no response to my inquiry. Is there even any need to think? No contingencies are necessary. You simply have to kill the hostage. That's how these things work. Oh boy. Just take the life of Shiratori Mizuha and be done with it. If you fail, come to me. I'll lend you strength once more. The call ends, and I slip back into the darkness. Now, how much of a stir will this lovely child cause for me? I only hope Usami has grown a little since last time. Usami suddenly kneeled down next to the gate.
このケースって何すかね?
Tin? It was a long cylindrical canister.
中に望遠鏡とか入ってますけど。
Must be Shiratori's equipment. Miss Noriko's face in the low glass window suddenly became displaced by that of a thug wearing a ski mask. As he held Miss Noriko's arms behind her back, he shouted again. His voice. And his stature, too. This thug is my classmate. Hashimoto?
ユキを呼べばいいんですね。
そうだ。とっとと話をさせろ。あの女は俺に恥をかかせやがった。
He waved his knife around, then kicked the door wildly.
早くせろ。
Usami glanced at me.
出ましょう。
All we could do was cooperate with Hashimoto.
話を戻しましょう。橋本くんがもう一度接触してくる前に、京介くんに頼みがあるの。
A favor? I have a bad feeling about this.
できるだけ人を集めて、この学園を封鎖してほしいの。
Hey now, you don't mean...
ええ。なるべくそっちの筋の方がいいわ。
Yeah, I guess they would, wouldn't they? She wants me to call the Soniyama group out here?
犯人を逃げられないようにする必要はあると思います。
Not you too.
学園の出入り口をすべて抑えるには人手が足りませんから。
And presumably, he could escape through a window just as easily. And so it continues. Greetings, my name's Neosekken, and welcome back to my Let's Play of The Devil on G-String. So where we last left off, I did decide to make the decision towards the end of the last episode to wait for Tokita, but I was informed by one of my viewers that making this decision would actually lead me to a different route than Shiratori's route. So what I'm going to do is temporarily put the wait for Tokita decision on hold for now, backpedal a bit, and we're going to call the police instead and see what happens from there. So I apologize for this sudden change of plans, but I really wanted to get all the side content out of the way before we proceed along with the main story, so I hope that's not too much of an inconvenience for everybody. Now, with that being said, let's continue. We're gonna call 119. Should I really do this? No, but yes. My thumb stopped dead in its tracks as I tried to dial 911. I thought it was 119 for Japan. Shiratori could die. It's possible. But this kind of heinous crime is best left to the police. Hashimoto is alone. The only weapon he has is a single knife. If I brief the police on the situation, they might be able to sneak in without alerting the captor and have the hostages freed in no time. My sense of urgency torments me enough to taunt my headache into action. Shiratori's furious face surfaces in my mind. I never thought I'd end up having dinner with her. She seems to hate me for some reason. I drive scattered thoughts of Shiratori from my mind as I consider my next move once more. Oh, really making sure I'm certain about my decision here. Police. I strengthened my resolve and dialed a number.
Azai-san.
Usami seemed to have something to say, but decided to give up and hold her tongue. Two agonizingly long rings met my ear before someone picked up. Is your emergency a crime or an accident? I think I somehow managed to describe the incident smoothly. The police mobilized quickly once alerted to the situation. Dozens of patrol cars promptly surrounded the school. The police took over the situation, and we were no longer needed. They made the school's athletics grounds their base, set up a whole array of communications devices, and began negotiations immediately. Hashimoto had apparently been bluffing about killing the hostages, as he surrendered with very little resistance. The apparent commander of the police team was able to persuade him to stand down after no more than 2 or 3 phone calls. We're actually not going to get a scene watching all this stuff play out. It's kind of anticlimactic, don't you think? Thus, Miss Noriko and Shiratori were released, and the affair came to a close. I mean, I'm complaining because it kind of makes it fairly obvious, I think, that like if we played a different choice, I think we would have definitely gotten a much more fleshed out scene, like it looked like it was going to at the end of the last episode. But this communicates to me, yeah, no, it's clear, yeah, no, forget it. This is not important now. You're just going to go on to a whole new route. So, here you go. Let's just get this quick summary out of the way so you can do just that. Like, does that make sense? Oh, anyway, I skipped a line. Thus, Miss Noriko and Shiratori were released, and the affair came to a close. In the end, I had made the right choice. I don't think I did. A viewer confirmed as much to me anyway. Shiratori's white skin had transformed into a downright death parlor by the time she was ushered into a patrol car for an interview downtown. She looked to still be unable to fathom the tragedy which had just befallen her. She was trembling, like a small, terrified animal. I feel like I should have said something to her. Here we go.
Kyousuke君の判断は良かったわね、水葉。
You doing all right?
うん。それにしても、父さんの交渉テクニックはものすごいわね。私ももっと勉強しなきゃ。
犯人、なすすべもなかったわね。
水葉は大丈夫だった？
Wish we could have seen him put the culprit at a loss.
うん。別に平気。
Well, at least your kidnapper was gentle. Wait. Hey, can I go home yet?
ダメよ。
Is there a particular reason I have to be present for your little denouement?
お昼ご飯おごってあげるから。
No. Look, the case is all absolutely closed. There's nothing else to say about it, is there? According to the news, Hashimoto's demand was to have his father released. However, the investigation is still ongoing. Thanks to the police's speedy resolution of the conflict, Shiratori walked away unharmed. Nevertheless, she did take a 2-day break from school, hence the midday off-campus gathering. As for me, I was tricked into this little lunch meeting by Tokita.
ほら、水葉。ちゃんと京介君にお礼を言いなさい。
なんで？
助けてもらったじゃないの。
Technically, the boys in blue did, so you should thank them next time you see ones wandering the street.
助けてくれたのは警察だもの。
There, see? She gets it. She has a point. All I did was call them. There's no need for thanks. Probably just grossed me out anyway. For some reason, Shiratori sulked at that. What do you mean for... You have no tact. Still.
何？気持ち悪いって。
まあまあ、彼はひねくれ者だから。
Little is kind of underselling it. Just like you, Shiratori.
アザイ君ほどじゃないわ。
It's twisted about Shiratori. Yeah, sure. Whatever helps you sleep at night. Who put the stick up her ass? You did, maybe? Could she possibly be any more childish? Look, do you two have any business with me or not?
だから助けてもらったお礼がしたかったのよ。
Then feed him and shut his mullet. Mullet? Gullet. I meant gullet. Isn't that so? He adds to Mizuha, who ignores her as furiously as she does me. Then again, this man can be, I can picture Kyousuke here eating from his hair. He can be inhuman at times, to be fair. Alright, I accept your appreciation. I'm out of here.
ちょっと待ってよ。
I'll give you 20.
怖い目をしないで。CD 買ってあげるわ。
I don't think he eats music. A CD?
ほら。ワグナーの。
Oh? Have you finally reflected on your inappropriate behavior? Well, I suppose it couldn't hurt. You did shatter my last copy after all. You fucking liar! You got more.
も
Because I think
う、
you
なんで
do.
もいいわ。
Shiratori stood from her seat.
じゃあ買い物に行きましょうか。
Sure. That's so funny. It may have been a weekday afternoon, but Central Boulevard was crowded nonetheless. Wait, hold on a second. I have a stamp card from the CD shop I usually go to. Buy me something if you want, but you gotta use this.
せこいわね。
Yep, I'm one miserly bastard. I think that's how you say that word. Miserly doesn't sound right.
偉そうに言わないでよ。
Well, he kinda has to swallow his pride. He has to save lots and lots of moolah. There's something odd about all this. Shiratori looks at me as if I were a particularly offensive insect. Well, you are a dung beetle, aren't you? Meanwhile, she says she wants to buy me a CD. Would she really do something so obviously disturbing to her sensibilities just because I dialed 911? Is there something else to this?
またそうやって疑う。
Out with it. You two are acting about as suspicious as they come.
人の行為も信じられないのね。
Fine, I give up. Just hurry up and buy what you came to buy.
なんだか嫌になってきたわ。
Good for you.
ちょっとミズハ。
Tokira suddenly panicked.
何姉さん。
あなたね、ダメじゃない。
Why are you chastising her? I'm the one being a dick here.
だから何が？
いいからちょっとこっち来なさい。
Tokira yanks Shiratori by the arm. Hey! They run off toward a corner of the street, leaving me behind. Hey! They ignored me. I tried to listen in, Snoopy bastard.
だって。
Shiratori seemed to be pouting like a child.
だから言ったでしょ。いちいち腹を立てたらダメなのよ。ほら、笑顔笑顔。そう、いいじゃないいいじゃない。
そう？
もうズッキューンってくるわよ。ズッキューンって。
To be fair, she does have a good smile. What in God's name are they talking about? After a short moment, the two of them come back.
お待たせ。
You should have kept him waiting. Teach him a lesson. A stiff smile was plastered on her face. What are you doing to this poor girl, Tokita?
何が
Tokita's lips curved into a cheesy smile. I can see what's going on here. You two are planning something, aren't you?
全然ねえ、水葉。
Mizuha nodded like a robot.
隣歩いてもいい？
Sure, why not?
よし、よく言った。
What? This just crossed the line from absurdity to terror. I knew you were up to something!
企んでないわよ。人を信用しなくなったら終わりよ。
そうよ。信用を失ったら大変なんだから。
Yeah, it really is awful. Well, you're not exactly acting very trustworthy here. You are the last person to talk about acting trustworthy. It's like they're begging for me to be suspicious of them. You really don't have any ulterior motives?
ないってば。
Well, I'm sure Tokita does. At least. Tokita looks shady even when she's telling the truth. I should ask Shiratori instead. Well?
何度確認するのよ。
Until the cows come home, dear. This is it. I won't ask again, I swear. Just look me in the eyes when you answer.
目を見るの？
She plainly hesitated before I even asked.
告白？ひょっとして告白？
It's okay, Shiratori, you can do it. You just gotta gaze into the abyss for a few seconds and then tell it what it wants to hear. You'll survive. Where the hell do you pull these ideas out of?
告白なの？告白って告白？
Sure, why not? No.
気を持たせるだけ持たせてそのうち。
I'm not trying to play with anything, liar. They're up to something, no matter how I look at it. As long as they're not trying to pull one over on me, it's no big deal. However, I can't help but feel that I'm somehow the target of this little charade.
グダグダしてるわね。
That's my line.
あら？それより水葉、あの服可愛くない？可愛くない？
本当だ。かわいい。
You're into fashions like these, Shiratori? They didn't really seem to fit her persona, so I'm a bit taken aback. They were clothes more suited to a sultry adult woman.
これでもこの子着痩せするから、色っぽさを出せばグイグイ来ると思うのよね。
Bang? What do you mean bang, Tokita? What do you think she means?
それはもちろん、興味ある男の子の気を引いたり。
Wait a fucking minute. Are you implying that Shiratori is attracted to Kyousuke here? Unless it's like some kind of a good girl wanting a bad boy kind of situation here, I gotta ask, why?
姉さん。
ムキになっちゃってかわいい。
姉さん。
もうそんなんじゃダメだって。
I wish I could get away with saying something like that to somebody. Shiratori is once again yanked into yanked to a safe distance.
そんなんじゃからズコーンとでぐしゃっと。
そうだね。
Seriously, if you're not going to buy me that CD, I've got no reason to be here.
心配しないで。
So materialistic. Shiratori smiles at me in the most forced, cheesy manner imaginable. Are you girls brainstorming about ways to annoy me when you run off together?
この場を和ませるための笑顔に決まってるじゃない。
Didn't work so well. Cut it out already.
別に何もしてない。
Sure looks like you are.
どうすればいいの？
Shut up and buy me the CD. Then keep quiet until we say goodbye. Don't buy him the CD.
盛り上がりに欠けるわね。
Is this supposed to be fun?
買い物は楽しい方がいいでしょ？違う？
Fine, I get it. You can talk. Just start walking. They've been standing still for too long now.
円満に解決したところで行きましょうか。
She was the one who started that little conflict. No comment.
行こう。
Thank you. And this one keeps throwing me strange looks. Dense motherfucker. We passed the minutes of our trek to the CD store clamorously. The sun was now setting, yet I was still being dragged around by these two.
京介くんは何か水葉に質問とかないの？
If my earlier assumption is correct, why do you have a thing for this dickless wonder? Not in particular. Wait. Oh. She was asking me about her. Not in particular. She's been like this the whole time.
興味持ってたじゃない。ついこの間までは。
That was just a little recon for my revenge. Shiratori's scornful eyes threatened to bore holes in me as she walked alongside me. You like stars, right?
だから。
Nothing. I just figured it was a pity we missed out last time.
別に。
What? I swear Tokita just reached out for Shiratori's butt from her position behind us.
なんでもないわ。ね、水葉。
そうね。残念だったわ。
So?
だから、その。
You want to look for Uranus? Sure. Whoops, I didn't mean to skip her. Want to... Tokita immediately spoke up after I finished.
やらないか。天体観測ってことよ。
As long as we at least get to see Pluto, I don't care. Oh, so that's what the stuttering was about.
どうなの？
Nah, can't be bothered. Fuck you! I want to see Pluto! Shiratori looked up at her sister in a panic, clearly at a loss for what to do.
ちょっと京介くん、ひどくない？
Not in the least. I have business to tend to. I don't have time to be playing around with you two.
ああ。
Her eyes were cold. I tilted my head. You won anyway, to look at the stars, dimwit! I'm sure it's money they're after. Not everyone is as money hungry as you, nitwit. I'm a born miser. You won't be able to squeeze anything out of this rock. No comment on that either.
それはお金の話でしょ？
Money, stuff, time, anything. Again, no comment.
愛は？
Love?
ラブよ。
That's disgusting. I don't recall ever being in love. I do!
じゃあ悲鳴は？思い切り叩いたら出るかしら。
Please do that. Most likely, yeah.
では早速。
Alright then, my ass. I'm not going to sit by and let you hit me. I thought she said squeeze you. Freaking look. Yeah, see? Squeeze. Freaking psycho. Look, I'm out of here.
ちょっと
Was it this time? Give me a break. If you got business with me, leave it for tomorrow.
携帯
Huh?
携帯電話
Phone? What? Phone number? She started out clear enough, but
の番号を教え
she mumbled the rest of her sentence. Why? I wish I could punch this man in the face myself. Why is she going all silent? Your density is starting to seriously offend me.
おとといみたいなことになったとき困る
What, you mean, being held at knife point by a classmate? Okay. Meaning a hostage case? You're not going to prank call me at midnight asking for money, are you?
しない
Well, alright. Unlike Usami, Shiratori doesn't seem to be the type to call without good reason. At least you are observant of that fact, Scrooge McDuck. With an exhausted expression, she hands her phone to me. That's quite the cutesy phone you have, considering your perpetually grave expression. Why you... Forget it. There were bear and squirrel phone straps on it. We finished exchanging numbers, and I waved goodbye. Later.
ええ、また明日学園で。
Tokita had a strange grin on her face.
それじゃ
Shiratori grew sullen once more. I don't know what this is about, but I'm positive now that they're trying to trick me somehow. What I'm curious about is why now all of a sudden Tokita wants to try and pair me off with Shiratori. You know what I'm involved in. You know the kind of people I associate with. So, you really want to risk getting your kid sister involved in that stuff? Even on some level you might think here that Kyousuke is not a completely bad guy, like I don't get your deal here. I better watch my back. I return home and pass the time doing work for Gonzo. I hang up after finishing a call with the Azai Corporation, then casually look at my phone. I had apparently missed quite a few calls. Come to think of it, I remember having to ignore a few calls during that last conversation. I bet at least some of them are from Shiratori. They were all from Shiratori. God damn it. Just said all. If I had known she would have called me so soon, I wouldn't have given her the number. In any case, I better call her back. She answered before it had the chance to ring twice. She was clearly waiting for me to call back. Hello? No response. She refused to make any sound besides faint, rhythmic breathing. Look, why'd you call me? Hey.
あ、今大丈夫
You mean you want him to come over? Or, no. I think she'd be more explicit. I wouldn't have called you back if I wasn't.
それもそうね
She coughed.
明日ちょっと話があるのだけれど都合はいかがかしら
Is it just me? Or does she sound like she's reading from a script?
放課後はどうかしら嫌ならそれでもいいけれどきっと後悔することになるわよなぜならあなたの人生の転機が訪れるのだからって何これ
Did Tokita write what you're reading by any chance? That's what I want to ask. Shrill laughs echoed from the other end of the line. After school?
まあ、そう。
As long as we can make it quick, it shouldn't be a problem. No, this has to be a trap. Look, just tell me now. What are you calling about? Hey, don't go all silent on me.
ちょっと待ってよ。
Alright. There was a rustling sound. After a moment, she spoke again without an intonation.
顔を合わせて話したいの。
Oh? Is she going to ask me to lend her money? Not everything is about money, Scrooge McDuck.
で、
I'll give you 10. No, 15 minutes. But if it's about money, I'll tell you right now, you better ask someone else.
お金じゃないわ。どうしてあなたはいつもそうなの？
Because he was raised in a giant vault of gold coins, that's why. Shiratori finally returned to her typical ill temper. That made me feel a little more at ease. Always? I laughed. What do you think you know about me? What do you think you know about her? And what do you mean, always? You think you can just see right through me or something?
そうよ。いつも見てたもの。
Well, that's quite the admission. Huh? The call suddenly cut off. Did her signal drop? No, I think she just hung up after realizing what she just said. She doesn't call back. It's somewhat upsetting to just leave it at that. But I feel like I'd lose something if I gave in and called her back. Still, what was she saying at the end there? Well, whatever. Tomorrow, huh? Okay, so thinking about it now that I got this little nugget of information, I think I can probably guess Tokita's motive in helping all this stuff along. If Shiratori has apparently always had a thing for Kyousuke, and Shiratori told Tokita about it, then I guess I could see her wanting to help things along, even despite whatever reluctance she may have over Kyousuke as a person. So, yeah, it makes a little more sense now, I think. To me. I tumble into bed and close my eyes. Despite having just experienced an affair as monstrous as a hostage crisis, my days have once again become utterly peaceful. For some reason, Shiratori's face lingers in my mind. She's been a little strange ever since Tokita came into town. Well, given the circumstances behind their upbringing and their separation up until recently, it's kind of understandable, don't you think? They really do act like sisters. Though I suppose they have different mothers or something. In any case, they get on well together. Fleeting memories of my family painted my consciousness as my mind drifted in the darkness. However, like a shooting star, those old memories soon left me in the hands of the warm abyss of sleep. Morning had arrived before I knew it. The frigid, fresh air did nothing to abate the heat sparked by the crowd loitering about the school gate. Journalists and reporters bared their fangs at each commuting student, trying desperately to milk the recent hostage crisis for all it's worth. Cut it out already. How's a guy like me supposed to avoid attention of all this racket?
まあぶっちゃけかかってこいよみたいなところありましたね。
Oh, I see. Embellishing your tale of bravery, are we? Some shrimp had grabbed a microphone, and a horde of cameras converged on him.
正直警察とか来なくてもなんとかしてましたね僕が
Shooting his mouth off again. Probably to help his image with the ladies, no doubt. Yo, Shiratori. I showed up early today, but Shiratori was already in the classroom. She was watering the flowers at the windowsill again. How did you, of all people, escape the cameras?
マスコミより早く来たから。
Well, be careful. You were the hostage, and what with your father being abashed left and right, they're probably out to nail you, too.
それは何？
What?
気を使ってくれてるの？
No. I'm just saying what anyone would say in this situation. I suddenly remember the call yesterday. Today after school, right?
あ、うん。
Shiratori suddenly lost her composure. Why'd you hang up on me anyway? I can't figure you out.
とにかく放課後。
After school, huh? What exactly is happening after school anyway? You're trying to call me out and fight me with a behind the... You trying to call me out and fight with me behind the gym? Looking to thrash me good? To be fair, I think she could kick your ass if she really wanted to.
何それ？
She frowned angrily. I'm kidding. I'll be there. I'll make sure I don't forget like usual. I'll hold you to that.
そういう冗談嫌い。
Why can't you just talk to me now, though?
当たり前でしょ？
The only one this is obvious to is you.
いいから放課後。
Dragging out the subject seems to make her pretty antsy. Well, your manner of approaching this is less than tactful, shall we say. What could she possibly want to talk to me about? Use your imagination! Put all that brain power that you normally put into organizing finances and think about what she could possibly want to talk to you about. Anyway, we can meet up at 9 o'clock.
遅すぎ。
I don't know. I say it's pretty solidly after school.
放課後どころか、もうあれよ。ほら。
Are you honestly about to tell me 9 o'clock isn't after school?
ちっちきちよ、ちっちきち。
What? Shiratori's raised her voice at me as her face went red.
とにかく遅すぎるってこと。常識的に考えて9時なわけないでしょ。変にからかうのやめてよ。
Alright, 2 p.m. then.
今度は早すぎる。
5? Oh, come on. You gotta live on the edge. Sneaking out a little early should spice things up a bit.
完全にアウトだから。まだ授業中だし。
Delinquents use afternoon and after school interchangeably. Material equivalents. She's not a delinquent unlike you, Mr. Delinquent.
私、優等生だから。
I don't think one really identifies oneself as such.
普通に授業が終わってからでいいでしょ。
What if I come down with a sudden illness and you have to leave school early?
どうしてそんなこと心配するのよ。
She frowns again.
ひょっとして嫌なの？
It's nothing like that.
嫌なら嫌って言えばいいじゃない。
That sad, angry face of yours tells me that would be a bad idea. Has this girl always been so expressive? I'll be there. Don't worry.
そう。なら、ちゃんと来て。
She passed by me as if running away. But she didn't actually go anywhere, as she just escaped me to loiter about in the corner of the classroom. Her classmates trickle in, yet not one of them talked to Shiratori. I guess they must believe the fault for the incident lies with Shiratori's father rather than Hashimoto. Well, I suppose she's used to this isolation by now.
Yo, Kyousuke, ohayo-san.
Morning, Mr. Hero. Done with your interview?
もちろんだぜ。これで俺も一躍有名人ってやつよ。
Sorry, celeb. Getting a little carried away, aren't we?
そんなことより聞いてくれよ。
Sure. What? I held out my right hand.
何この手。
100 yen.
ラッキーくれんの？
Nothing. Why the hell would I give you 100 yen?
え、じゃあ100円って？
I'll listen to you if you give me 100 yen.
なんで？
These days you have to pay to get your word out. Know what I mean?
初めて聞いたよ。
Try talking to a lawyer for an hour on your way home today. They cost a shitload more than 100 yen.
そりゃ仕事だからな。
How's that any different from me listening to you? You know, he's got a point.
どうしてそんな経緯になったのか一から聞かせてくれ。
Tuition at Azai University costs a grand per lecture. That all right with you?
俺はこんな友達持ってて幸せだよ。
Don't be too merry now.
もういい。話す気も失せた。
I'm just kidding, dude. Let's hear it. I'll listen.
いやいや聞いてもらう話じゃないんだよ。正直言ってすげえネタなんだからさ。
Oh, I believe it really is hysterical. Oh, never mind then.
食いつけよ。
Just sounds like a scam to me.
昨日帰宅してから気づいたんだけどさ。
So he started talking after all.
あ、ちゃんと聞いてるか？
I'm trying, but he doesn't want to listen. Totally.
俺は栄一の言葉を聞きながら授業開始を待った。とか内心で言ってすっ飛ばしたりしないよな。
Of course not. Relax. Just tell me.
よし。で、昨日な。
I wait for class to end as I pretend to listen to Eiichi. Around 20 minutes in,
遅刻しました。
what's got you bummed out? Dokita entered the classroom looking sick to her stomach. She's about to get shouted at by the teacher.
すみません。この季節、布団がですね、いつまでも私をストーキングしまして、説得にはかなりの時間が。
I definitely know that feeling. Her mouth seemed to be feeling fine, at least. She stopped in front of my seat and smiled at me. I have a bad feeling about this. Lunchtime rolled around. Hey, what's Usami doing? Hey, Ichi. Let's go get something to eat.
ああ、いや、ちょっとユキ様に呼ばれててな。
Tokita? Well, alright. I'll invite Tsubaki, I guess. Nah, she seems busy. Kanon's out of the country. Usami is sleeping. Mystery solved! What about Shiratori? Just as I thought that, my eyes met with hers. I feel like she's staring daggers at me harder than usual. We were caught in a Mexican standoff. Before long, my opponent yielded and walked away dejectedly. It's okay, Shiratori. I'm sure you'll win next time. I believe in you. This man ain't so tough. I couldn't shake my curiosity about what awaited me at the end of school. As I idly wandered about for the umpteenth time today, the last class came to an end. Shirotori. I call out to her from behind. Shirotori looked around restlessly, as if she was worried about what her classmates might be thinking.
こっち。
She walked out of the classroom. I trod along behind her. Is this something you really have to hide from people? I try to talk to Shirotori as I blindly follow her.
私と一緒にいると迷惑かかる。
I'm used to trouble. She cast her eyes down, and a black shadow quickly fell over her expression. More than a few of our classmates sympathize with Hashimoto. Shirotori might feel like she has no place here anymore. I decided to give up the conversation and silently followed her. The rooftop was perfectly empty. Shirotori turned around to meet my gaze. Now, talk. 5 minutes. No pressure, huh? Did she suddenly get cold feet?
えっと
She was paying a lot of attention to the railing behind her. There was nothing there, and only the wide orange sky behind it. Shirotori moved to the edge of the rooftop.
吊り橋吊り橋こうか。
Funny you mention that, because I just learned what the suspension bridge effect is today. She was muttering something, some kind of charm. This is suspicious.
そろそろバレンタインじゃない？
Yeah. Where'd that come from?
バレンタインといえば何か思い出さない？
I think of something. I think of thinking nothing. Oops. That jab just kind of slipped out.
ほら、2年前。
Probably not. Valentine's Day? 2 years ago? Nothing jumps out at me. I can barely remember what happened in school yesterday, let alone 2 years ago. School just isn't a priority. Shirotori sighed.
忘れっぽいっていうのは何かあるの？
Actually... I don't know. I've always been like this. I suddenly thought of Dr. Akimoto.
チョコレート誰かからもらったと思うのだけれど。
2 years ago, you mean? I haven't got the foggiest idea. I act cheery in school, and I get along well with my classmates, so it wouldn't be all that surprising. I don't remember it, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen.
もらったのよ。
What about it? Is this what you wanted to talk about?
そうよ。
She goes sour again.
あなたは捨てたもの。ゴミ箱に。
Oh. You left the chocolates, didn't you? That's how you know what happened to them. And why the whole incident like this has stuck with you up until now. You've been crushing on them for at least 2 years, haven't you? She said that with anger, then began to slip. Shirotori, her uniform fluttering in the wind, fell toward the railing. No, it looked like she was falling.
うわ落ちる
Oh no! She had just bent backwards a little. It looked more like she was stretching her back than tipping over the edge.
助けて
Don't worry, madam. I will save your life. Look, you're not following. Play along!
でももう本当に
Her scream didn't hold any convincing desperation. Wah! What?
いやでも風にさらわれて
Curse Zeus in his treacherous timing. You could wait. I think Zeus controlled the storm winds, didn't he? Or was thunder just only his thing? Son of a bitch! What a time for me to forget my Greek mythology. You could barely even call this a breeze.
台風がもうそこまで
Well, I think typhoons were Neptune's thing, at least. Am I being made fun of? No, you're just real bad at playing along. Still, it didn't seem like the conversation would progress if I didn't grab her arm. So I did.
助かったわありがとう危うく落ちて死ぬところだったわ
Think nothing of it, dear lady. I was only doing my job.
それで話の続きなんだけど
Well, at least I think I know what to title this video now. It seems she realized my face has died in anger.
どうしたっていうのよ
No. What's with you? If she were Eiichi, I probably would have just pushed her off. And nothing of value would have been lost. Hey, Takeda. I suddenly turned around and saw a woman ducking back into the rooftop's entrance. I couldn't help but think she had intended us to hear her.
とにかくあなたはもらったチョコレートを捨てたのよいきなり
Huh? Oh. Did I? So?
だからひどいっていう話
Well, yeah, that sounds terrible. What kind of jerk would toss a gift from a girl into a trash can? Oh, right. She's saying I did it. Who gave them to me anyway? If I were to slam my forehead into my desk right now, I would smash my keyboard. So I'm not going to. Shiratori hung her head as her shoulders trembled. Ah. What? Hold on here. I couldn't keep my calm. No way, no way.
私
Gah!
じゃなくて
You did not?
やっぱり
She groaned a few times and gritted her teeth.
私
You can do it! I believe in you!
じゃないわ
Good on you! You caught him for what he truly is! She suddenly ran off.
何してるの
I heard Tokida's voice over Shiratori's noisy footsteps. Before long, I had been left all alone. As you deserve! Then, Eiichi unexpectedly appeared. Hey! We were just talking about you a brief moment ago. I just need you to hop on the edge of this rooftop for a sec.
よ京介白鳥はいい子だぜ
Huh?
白鳥はいい子だぜ
He repeated himself with a face like a puppet. Why, thank you, Mr. NPC.
ほんと間違いない
Since when did you start singing Shiratori's praises?
だってユキ様にじゃなくてなんとなく
Your desperation is actually kind of funny, at times. It was the first thing you said when you came up here. That Torp Tokia trained you hard, didn't she?
さすが京介には嘘は通じねえか。そうだよ。俺はユキ様に脅されて仕方なくだな。
Oh, I thought she just convinced you to do it as if like a favor or something. Doing what?
お前の前で白鳥を褒めろと。
To talk her up.
すまねえ京介。つい出来心ってやつよ。俺は白鳥なんてどうでもいい。
You're going to die a painful, bloody death if you don't do something about that opportunism of yours. Nevertheless, I somehow understood. It seems Shiratori gave me chocolates, which I then tossed into a trash can. Is that why she hated me so much? Well, I don't think she hates you, but she most certainly is miffed about the whole thing 2 years later. But hold on a minute. She gave me chocolates. And judging by her attitude, they couldn't have been just pity candy. You know what? I'm sure pity candy actually exists. And it's something I'll probably need to look into later. So I'll just leave that alone for now. That means... Whoa. What a twist.
京介どうするんだ。まだ白鳥への復讐は終わってないんだろ。白鳥を手ごめにするっつう話はどうなった？
And how about I just toss you over the roof of this building? Rape, huh? No, wait. She gave me those chocolates 2 years ago. Thus, Shiratori's feelings toward me are 2 years old. That doesn't necessarily mean they continued into the present. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. The girl just called me out to complain to me. Really gotta keep myself from slamming forehead into desk. That's all. There was no reason for Shiratori to fall for me in the first place. Unless she likes bad boys. Let's keep a good eye on her for now.
よし、任せとけ。
Don't go double-crossing me again.
絶対神に誓う。
Swear to me! He's going to do it again. Meanwhile, from Shiratori Mizuha's perspective... Ooh, a perspective flip.
姉さんダメだったよ。
Aw, look at that. Such a cute little image. Well, go away.
よしよし。かわいそうにかわいそうに。
あれじゃまた誤解されちゃうよ。
大丈夫よ、水葉。彼もバカじゃないから、あなたの気持ちには感づいたはずよ。
Your optimism is horribly misplaced.
本当？
あなたが2年前にチョコレートを渡したってことは間違いなく伝わったわ。
でもそれだけじゃ今の私の気持ちは。
落ち着いて。あなたは今目標に確実に近づいているわ。
そう？
だってそうでしょ。今まで声もかけられなかったのに。ほら、そんな暗い顔しないの。
でも吊り橋効果効いたのかな。
No. The elder sister's face twisted like a drama mask.
聞いてる間違いない。
そうだよね。姉さんが教えてくれたんだものね。
ほら、次よ次。彼を追いかけるのよ。
だってさっき
単純接触の原理については教えたでしょ。
That's one I definitely don't know about.
とにかく顔を合わせろって。
そう、行為の度合いは 同一人物として認識された回数に比例するのよ。
Okay, I think I understand
で
that.
も昨日から結構顔を合わせてるよ。お昼休みの時だって。
ブスッとしてるだけじゃダメなのよ。いろいろな表情を見せるの。すると相手は短時間でも他人の内面を見たような錯覚を抱いて親近感を覚えるの。
いろいろな表情。笑ったり泣いたり、歯を食いしばって屈辱に耐えてみたり。
If this were a comedy story, maybe that would actually be a good idea. But no.
まあさ。
わかったよ。他には？
他？
Mizuha's older sister knit her brow with a
見ている限り、水葉は彼のことをもっと褒める必要があるわ。
He doesn't deserve the compliments.
褒め
Only
る？
scorn.
どうして？彼はあまり褒められた人じゃ。
Thank you! But that just makes me question your love for him even more, though.
でも好きなんでしょ？だったら褒めなさい。
でも褒めたら調子づくわ。
例えば教育においては褒めるのが最も有効だといろいろな実験で示されているの。恋愛もそう。
そんなことはないわ。最も有効なのは暴力よ。暴力より効率のいい指導なんてないわ。
She freaking gets it!
ちょっとあなたどこでそんな言葉習ったの？
違うの？
相手の成績が悪かったから叱る。するともともと悪かったのだから次は成績が上がる場合が多い。だから叱ると効果があったと錯覚してしまう。
あ、そっか。成績が良かったら褒める。すると次は下がる場合も多いのだから調子に乗ったと思ってしまう。
まあそんな話はいいとして、とにかく彼を褒めるのよ。
でもどこをどう褒めていいのか。彼は裏がある人だし。
その突っ張った態度がいけないのよ。相手を褒めるとね、自分も気持ちいいものよ。
Depends on the person and how receptive they are to it, especially at a given time.
わかった。
よし、じゃあ行け。
Yet another worthless problem is trying to worm its way onto my shoulders.
アザイ君。
A voice calls out behind me. I turned around, startled. Now she's laughing for some reason.
さっきはごめん。
I take it you've never experienced nervous laughter before in your life, huh, Kyousuke? And now she's overdramatically dejected.
そのコートかっこいいね。
For God's sake, her face and words aren't even matching up. What? What about my coat?
すごい素敵だと思う。
I'm sure it is more beautiful than the man himself, to be fair. What's incredible about it? This thing's nothing but a cheap rag. Still more beautiful than you.
その色とか。
I'd say this is pretty standard color for a coat. Standard is definitely better than substandard, like you.
あとその髪型、前髪が長いね。
So long that he can't see the stuff that's directly in front of him, especially emotional. Well, I'm sorry that bothers you.
あ、違う、褒めてるの。目が見えないくらい鬱陶しいじゃない？
Yeah, they do get in the way a lot, it seems. What kind of compliment is that?
あと
Can you guys tell I really just want to get into a fist fight with Kyousuke?
何よ、いいところなんて全くないじゃない。
Well, yes, you're absolutely right about that. She suddenly dashed off. Hey! She ran far into the distance. What just happened? She gave you an accurate character summary, genius.
姉さん、またダメだったよ。
Now don't cry, Shiratori. The truth may often be a harsh mistress, but very often, she will set you free.
よしよし、かわいそうにかわいそうに。
And if you truly love this poor, pitiful excuse for a man, you should set him free! Phew. What's going through that girl's head these days? A lot more than what goes through yours on a daily basis, it seems. Today and yesterday, her behavior has been balls to the wall insane. But chocolates, huh? I'd have never thought she had a thing for me. She might still. Well, I don't care about Shiratori's feelings, and that's why you fail! I've no time to play around with her. The only thing keeping me from letting all this go in one nagging question, excuse me. Why did she fall for me 2 years ago? I am voting bad. I'm voting the whole bad boy theory currently. I don't remember being involved with Shiratori at all back then. Still, I knew she was the heir to the Shiratori Corp construction, so I might have tried to get on her good side. Maybe she got the wrong idea about that. Top it off, I threw away the chocolate she gave me. I'm quite the scoundrel. Understatement. It's not like I don't feel bad about it. I won't believe it until I see it. But that doesn't mean I'm just going to fall in love with her to make up for it. I know. Boy, do I know. It's probably going to have to take some financial incentive on your part at this point. This is ridiculous. I'm going to sleep. Or at least I thought I was. What do you want this time?
あら、お休み前だった？ごめんなさいね。
Tequila, huh?
水葉かと思った？
Yeah. What's with her? Are you egging her on or something?
まさか。
She laughs suspiciously.
それで、どう思った？
About Shiratori? The word creepy wouldn't do it justice.
チョコレートを捨てた話は聞いたわよね。
Yeah, not that I remember anything about it.
水葉はあなたの机に入れておいたらしいの。けれど、あなたはそれを見た途端、教室のゴミ箱に捨てた。
Maybe
ひどいと
Devilman.
思わない？
Maybe Devilman did it, and he was just in control for geometry or something, and he really doesn't like chocolates. In which case, sucks to be him, I guess. Chocolates are amazing. So?
少しは水葉に目を向けてくれてもいいんじゃないの？
No, I shouldn't. I'm just not interested. Yeah. I should make that clear right now. I don't think I don't think it's gonna... No. It's a lost cause, Kyousuke. Don't bother. This is the path I set you on, so just be a man, grin and bear it. Tell Shiratori that I'll apologize if she's still upset about 2 years ago, but I'm not interested in her.
わかったわ。
Her voice seemed to be hiding something. Why is she so into me anyway?
あら、今も気があるだなんて誰から聞いたの？興味はあるみたいね。
I mean, I'm not interested in that way. Tokita laughed.
ねえ、水葉のことどう思ってるの？
I told you, I don't think anything of her.
なら他のクラスメイトはどう思ってるのかしらね。
My classmates? No clue. I casually thought back on Eiichi's investigation to shear Tori's reputation. They say she's a top student, good at sports. Generally talented girl, I guess. She seems to have an attitude problem, though.
ちょっと友達は少ないみたいね。
I'd say that's about right. Ever since the director's scandal started, she's been treated even more coldly than before.
でもあの子、実は今彼氏いるのよ。
She does? Wait, are you lying? What? Talk about a freaking shock. I jumped out of bed and stood up. Oh, look, you do care. But...
それが本音ね。
も
ちろん嘘よ。彼氏どころか私以外の誰ともまともな口を聞けないわ。
Don't kid about things like that.
人は伝聞系で本音を漏らす。そうよね。やっぱり愛想が足りないわよね。
Apparently I've fallen for some sort of trap. Hey, don't get the wrong idea. I was just surprised at the thought of her having a boyfriend. I wasn't disappointed or anything.
まあそうでしょうね。今のところは。
What's with not yet?
何にしてもあなたは水葉が周りから冷たい目で見られているのを少しは気にかけてくれているようね。
How do you work that out? I didn't say that. The other classmates did.
人間は無意識のうちに自分と同じ意見を集めるものよ。水葉が周りから敬遠されているのは事実だけれど、他にも真面目なところを評価する声もあったり、容姿が可愛いという声もあるのよ。
I just happen to have missed those positive opinions then.
そうかしらね。あなたは今日の朝一でマスコミに囲まれなかったかと水葉に聞いたらしいけど。
Sure, but... Was that because of my personal sensitivity to the eyes of society? Damn it. Talking to this woman tangles up my brain. Look, I'm hanging up now. You don't sound like you want to talk about anything important.
そうね。今日はこの辺にしておくわ。
Does that mean we have another session tomorrow? I hang up. It's ridiculous. Seriously. Oh well. As long as I keep it in school. I stop thinking so hard and go to sleep. I actually began to look forward to the doldrums of tomorrow that would allow me to forget about things like Maou, Gonzo, and the struggles of my family.
Not
interested. Eiichi suddenly started a conversation the next morning. He was going on about some uninteresting junk, but I guess it'll do as a time killer until class starts. Gouge. That's one of those games where you hit on girls, right?
あ、特定の女をものにするのが目的よ。
Really now? Did you manage to sex anyone up yet?
いや、絡みはなしだった。そんなことよりムカついたんだがよ。
What was it?
主人公がよ、なんかお前っぽいんだわ。
Wow, Kyousuke, I had no idea that you were the model that used as the model of an eroge protag. What an honor. Kinda like me how?
口が悪くてとんがってるくせにここぞという時には義理に熱いっつうか。
Oh. It's not like me at all.
あとよ、主人公の友達ってのがいるんだけどよ。
Which one? Usami? Friend? Oh wait, no. You.
かなりのイケメンでさ、普段はバカを演じてるんだけどよ、実際ここぞってところで主人公を助けてくれるんだよ。
Well, there is one difference I can probably already note here. I'm sure that this protag's friend actually does act like an idiot, but you, on the other hand, you are an idiot. Oh?
俺っぽくね。
I will not repeat myself.
むしろ俺そのものじゃね？
I'm not so sure about that. We banter for a few minutes until someone calls out to me.
おはよう。
Wait a minute. Actually, no. For a second, I thought that Shiratori's character portrait was overlapping with Eiichi's, despite being in the background.
何よ。挨拶くらい変じゃないでしょ。
No.
お昼空いてる？
I've got no plans if that's what you mean. We can meet up if you want to.
じゃあその時にでも。
She briskly walked away.
おいおい、京介ちゃんよ。
Then die already. He drew closer to me with a jealous scowl.
え、何？お前復讐するとか言っといて、白鳥とどういう関係になってんの？
Well, at least I'll never be as whipped up as a bitch as you are. That's my only consolation. Nothing's going on between us.
敵と飯食おうってのかよ。
Wait a minute, why am I putting on myself in the same level as Kyousuke? Hey, what's the big deal?
お前な、これがギャルゲーだったらお前そのままゴールインしちまうぞ。
Just goes to show how competent our boy is. Good thing this is reality then. And this reality sucks. Because I'm controlling you.
ちげえ、お前知らないのか？俺たちの生きてるここは仮想現実なんだぞ。なんかもう何もかもコンピューターで作られた世界なんだって。
What is this, a Matrix shout-out? Right. So, you're saying that someone is out there right now, on the other side, watching our conversation.
そうだよ、早くパッチ出せよ。俺の身長を180センチにする修正パッチ。
I would prefer to have a mod where they make you 6 inches tall. You watch too many movies. Tokita meandered into the classroom after the bell rang. Yo, not late today, huh?
ええ、寝てないから。
Why? Up all night giving Shiratori weird ideas again?
なんで？お昼に誘われた？
I'll take that as a yes. As I thought. Hey, Tokita.
何？改まって。
What are you to Shiratori?
姉だけど？
You have different mothers, don't you?
それが？
Weren't you and your mother thrown out of the Shiratori house?
ええ。母は白鳥理事長の愛人だったの。それが堂々と同じ家に居座っていたんだから大変よね。華麗なる一族みたいになってたわ。
I'm surprised you can talk about it so casually.
変かしら？
Yes. You act like you're Shiratori's guardian, yet you were chased out of your own home while she stayed behind.
そうね。
One would expect you to envy or resent her. Tokita narrowed her eyes at that.
歪んでるわよ。
She returned to speaking casually.
でもそのひがみを何がしかの行動に移さなければならないほど今の私は追い込まれていないの。
I can't figure out how you manage to be so open and frank.
じゃあ重たく語ったら同情してくれるの？
Not really.
そうよね。あなただけじゃなくてみんなそうよ。たとえ私と母さんが理不尽な処遇で家を追い出されたのだとしても同情なんてしてくれないわ。
I would. I think that's a bit of an overstatement.
例えば私が昨日詐欺にあったって言ったらどうする？
I would go on a manhunt and rob them blind and treat you to ice cream. I'd ask why.
理由なんてないわ。私はただ騙されたの。
I'd still go on a manhunt. Then it might have been your fault.
そうでしょう。その反応はあなたが冷たいからじゃない。ごく一般的なものよ。理由もなく不幸を語る人間に人は心を許さない。
Oh, how I wish that were true. Well, but that doesn't stop people from trying. Plenty of people out there just beg for sympathy by talking about their rough lives. And unfortunately, it works way too often.
全然逆効果よ。人間には公正な世界の信念というものがあるわ。誰もが理不尽な不幸なんて簡単には訪れないと思ってる。だから理由もなく不幸に見舞われた人のことは能力が劣っているからそんな目にあったのだと思ってしまう。
Regarding the first couple sentences, I think Twitter would like to have a word with you. What kind of life has this woman led? I'd ask, but it doesn't look like she'd be willing to talk about it. I obviously can't be certain, but it seems Tokita is doting on Shiratori after suffering through some complicated issue in the past.
さてさて、水葉はどこまで頑張れるかな？
She smiled in delight. Never mind. This can't just be doting on his sister. Soon enough, it was lunchtime.
浅井くん、お昼だけどお弁当？
Nah, I always buy from the cafeteria.
じゃあ食べる？
Some of what?
ここじゃなんだし。ついてきて。
Where's she dragging me this time, for God's sake? I followed after Shiratori. As she walked in front of me, I noticed that she held what looked to be a boxed lunch. I never thought I'd be eating lunch with you. And alone, no less.
嫌なら断ればよかったの。
I don't have much else to do. I ended her by nagging by sitting down.
まずはじめに。昨日はごめんなさい。
You only spoke the truth. And the truth should never have to say sorry. Well, good. I had thought you'd gone apeshit on me.
姉さんから聞いた。チョコレートの件、悪く思ってるんでしょ？
Yeah, I guess.
じゃあいい。許してあげる。
She was acting more than a touch condescending, but there was no reason to tell her that.
これ作った。
She babbled and held out the lunch.
食べて。よかったら。昨日のお詫び。美味しいと思う。私、料理得意。
Who said there was no such thing as a free lunch? All right, gladly. I unwrapped the napkin around the lunch to discover a cutesy little lunchbox. I opened the lid, and cliché dishes like omelets and sausages were housed within.
美味しい？
I haven't even taken a bite yet. What's got ants in her pants? You. I picked up the chopsticks inside the box and threw a bite of the food into my mouth. Well, it was fairly average. Shirotori fixedly watched me.
そういえば、あなたはお金持ちだったわね。こんなもの食べないのかしら。
Don't be so fussy. It'll do just fine. Still, it's hard to relax with Shirotori glaring at me. There's something I need to confirm. Can I ask you something? I put down the chopsticks. Do you have a thing for me? Shirotori bit her lips and went silent. Oh, did I misinterpret something? I understand you gave me chocolates 2 years ago. Did you at least like me back then? Her trembling lips eventually spoke up.
そう。
Why?
あなたが優しそうに見えたから。
It was a mask. Which part of me were you looking at?
私を保健室に連れてってくれた。
I don't remember that at all.
朝とかよく声をかけてくれた。
You sure we're talking about the same Kyousuke here? I don't remember that either.
私が街で変な人たちに声をかけられた時、追い払ってくれた。
I repeat my earlier question. I remember that, though. Those intimidating men she spoke of were Soniyama street thugs. Boys at the bottom of the ladder. I heard someone shout the name of the Soniyama group as I walked downtown, and lo and behold, they were belligerently complaining about Shirotori bumping into them. I was with Gonzo at the time. Ah, no wonder you remembered that. You had Daddy with you to help your concentration. They have been too quick to flaunt the family, as those of the lowest rung are apt to do. He ordered me to do something about them, so I ended up saving her by some strange coincidence. I think I finally get it. After that incident, you discovered my intentions behind everything, and have been angry at me ever since. Is that the gist?
そうよ。私に声をかけてたのも、私じゃなくて、私の父に用があったんでしょ。
Yeah, that's right. She seemed to have taken another shock. But as it stands now, I have no intentions of getting involved with Director Shirotori. I don't need to explain that one, do I?
なんとなく。
Between the hostage crisis and his bribery scandal, Director Shirotori is just about toast. Anyway, thanks for the meal. I handed the lunchbox back to her.
美味しかった。
I'd put it about average. Nothing really stood out as fantastic. You are so awful at this. She went silent again.
ね。本当は料理得意とか嘘なの。ごめんなさい。
Really? Well, it's no big deal. But why were you trying to show off?
それは姉さん。なんでもない。
What did Tokiya do this time?
そうすれば、あなたが割と正直だってわかるって。
Honest?
もし、あなたが見えすいたお世辞を言うようなら、まだ何か私に含みがある証拠だって。でも、多分そんなことはないだろうって。
What kind of test was that?
いや、私の気持ちの問題。
So Shirotori wants to trust me?
ごめんなさい、本当に。試すようなことして。
I don't mind. I'm used to being evaluated.
か こいい。
What? She suddenly blushed.
姉さんが言ってた。人間誰でも裏表があるって。でも裏の裏がある人はそうはいないって。一旦裏を除いてそれ以上嘘をつかない人だったら安心していいって。
Trustworthy? You think?
とにかく明日もお弁当作る。
She left me with as she ran off yet again. Hey! Shitori's figure, jogging off with tightly clenched fists, seemed rather unfitting. Wait, tomorrow too? And what was with that? That's pretty cool.
こんにちは。
Snooping as usual, I see. Tokita abruptly showed up. God damn it! You scared the shit out of me!
解説いる？
Yes, he does. Alright, look, what's up with Shiratori? Ever since you showed up, she's been acting weird. Has she gone mad or something? Mad with love, genius?
そりゃもう完全に洗脳済みだから。
She even said I was cool. What the hell's wrong with her? I will agree, he's anything but cool. Tokita laughed, grinning.
あの子ね、お姫様なの。だからちょっとハードボイルドっていうの？ちょい悪が好きみたいなの。
I was right! Bad boys?
あなた、本音を言うときにちょっと声が低くなるじゃない？それがズッキューン来てるみたい。
I hope I do anyway.
とにかく気に入ったら美味しくいただいちゃってね。お弁当のことじゃないわよ。
She sounds like an old lech. Or lech, or lech. I don't remember how to pronounce that word. Lunch break came to an end.
京介、暇か？暇だろ？ゲーセンでも寄って帰ろうぜ。
Yeah, we can go to the arcade in the next episode, because I think I'm gonna just go ahead and cut things off here. So, Kyousuke is still an intellectually inept moron, and apparently Shiratori has a thing for this bad boy here. I won't lie, it's interesting to be sure, but I definitely think that Shiratori's taste in guys could definitely use some improvement, but the fuck do I know? Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this latest episode of The Devil on G-String. If you did and you want to see more content from me, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I'll see you all next time. Take care.